I took Leica's brand new SL3-P for a weekend of photography on the stunning Isle of Mull. I had a great time with the camera, and despite the pretty mixed conditions, I actually came away with a collection of photos that I really like. So here's what happened. After driving my car onto the ferry and leaving Oban, I headed onto the boat's deck. I wanted some photos on board and of the surrounding landscape and the beautiful lighthouse as we passed by. But it was midday and that light didn't really give me what I wanted. But spoiler alert, I would get some much better shots on the return trip, so stay tuned. So my first official photo of the trip was actually below deck with this guy looking out of the window. I gave it a black and white conversion, because of course I did, and I really love how this looks. So not a terrible start, I guess. Anyway, the ferry arrived and I finally got to drive onto the island.
Well, I'm on Mull, and it's at this point, I should probably admit, I've got absolutely no plan. Not a bit. I booked a hotel in Tobermory, and I booked a ferry crossing. That's as far as I got. The rest of it, I'm just gonna wait and see.
But within 5 minutes of arriving, that wait and see became stop and eat some cake. Because when there's cake available, the photos can wait. Words to live by. Back in the car, bit of a drive, and I found my first proper stopping point.
I think I found a waterfall, and by think I found, I mean it's on the map, it was signposted, and I can hear it. So I don't really think I found it at all. Definitely have. It is exceptionally muddy around here, and I'm wearing new boots, which may not have been the best idea for this trip. Well, this is quite grand. I've got a wide angle lens with me because I'm going to need it. And I'm also going to try and use slightly longer shutter speed to slightly blur the motion of that water. Can't really put this camera down to film anything, so I'm going to just have to do the photography and the video separately. So, here are the photos that I'm hoping that I'm about to get. I'm actually only about 5 minutes from Tobermory, where my hotel is, but because I got an earlier ferry than I was actually booked on, I'm here way before I can check in. So I thought I'd come and have a little bit of an explore. Anyway, it's lovely down here, so green and verdant and lush, and just smells of forest. Absolutely beautiful. end of this bit of forest is here, and it brings me out to the sea, which is amazing. Yeah, we get a great view looking out towards Tobermory. With some boats on the water, which is making my life very easy. F5 here, because I slightly want that depth of field of having some of these leaves that I'm using as a frame to fall out of focus. I don't want everything to be absolutely pin sharp, but this does look really, really nice. Oh no, what the hell? Caution, flying discs. I assume this is related to disc golf. Either that or it's some sort of medieval way of displaying the bodies of foes who you've killed. Could be either. Actually, it could be both. I don't know how aggressive disc golf is. Ooh. Lovely shot of this boat through the leaves. I'm thinking if I sort of zoom in a bit, get a nice framing. So a quick note about the camera. This is the Leica SL3-P. I've got it ahead of launch and I thought it'd be a really fun idea to come and take it to Mull because it's such a beautiful place. And I just have a 28 to 70mm f2.8 lens on here. Now, a lot of people would argue it's the most boring lens possible, and to be honest, I kind of agree. But for somewhere like this, you don't know whether you're going to get sweeping grand landscapes, when you're going to get details that you want to focus in on. So having something like this is kind of an all-purpose lens that I'd never need to change. And that's good because I really want to keep my setup simple. I didn't want to have a backpack full of lenses, so instead just having this one zoom lens is just what I need. Crucially, what this video isn't is a review of this camera. I do not review gear on my channel, but I did think it would be really fun to bring it somewhere so beautiful and just see what I can get with it. Yeah, it's great here because we've got the line of this pipeline, and at this lower angle becomes much more dominant in the frame. Really, really nice bit of foreground interest. My camera fell over. Well, what I was saying anyway, so we've got this great foreground interest from this height, and having come to a lower position, it looks even more prominent in the frame, which I like. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes, see if these boats sort of move around, because right now they're sort of overlapping one another in the image, and it makes the composition a little messy. I'm in no rush. I think it's one of those shots that's kind of worth the effort. So right now I'm at f18, and that's allowing some of the water just right in front to slightly blur. But I'm actually going to see if I can take that up to f22, a 20th of a second, just so I can blur that a little bit more. That's what I really like sometimes about not having set plans, set agendas. I had no idea this sort of forest park area was even here, let alone that I'd find some great compositions. I was just driving past on my way to go to Tobermory and I just saw the sign. A literal sign, not a figurative one. Little wander through and I found quite a few shots that I really like. The waterfalls, these boats, this view. Got another one in mind now before I go. It zooms in, vertical composition, mountains in the background and the boats, but I'm waiting both for the light to come back just to kind of pick the boats out because they're a little bit in shadow right now, and again just for them to bob around on the water, get into the right place so that it's a neater composition where there's some separation between them. So yeah, Let's give it a few minutes. Not in any rush, it's still not quite 2 o'clock, and I can't check in until 3. Sun doesn't set till about 9 p.m. Time to drive over to Tobermory now. It's about 1:30, and I think that makes it lunchtime.
Lunch was beer and chicken tenders. Because I'm an adult and I can do what I want. Afterwards, I had a little explore of Tobermory, but with pretty flat light and light rain, I didn't really get more than a few snaps. So in the end, I called it a night. 22-minute drive. Yeah, I've cut to the next morning. And the reason being, I ended up going to bed at 9:15 in the evening yesterday. 8:45 p.m. because I was just insanely tired. And I just thought to myself, why am I trying to stay up when all I want to do is go to sleep? So I did. Slept for about 12 hours. And I came up with a plan. It's a good plan, you're going to like it. A plan is drive somewhere. That's the end of the plan. Yeah, that's always a great plan. And actually, it did kind of work this time. I've just found a little spot. So I pulled in. I'm going to try and take a photo. First of the day. That's what we've got. This lovely little lock scene. And we've actually got this nice boathouse and a little rowboat in the water, which I think looks cute. But it's actually sort of these reeds and these banks and the mountain in the background that caught my eye. F8, 500th of a second. Pretty standard scene, but you know, it's nice enough. I'm wondering if I can get anything with that little rowboat, because there is a path. Aha. It's going to allow me to walk down. Maybe put something else in that foreground. Ooh, we've actually got a different boat. Putting this upturned boat in the foreground. I think that's nice. Hope no one's here. This is locked up, so I don't think anyone's here. I think it probably could work quite well in black and white because it's quite contrasty, and also probably with a quite wide and narrow crop, maybe 2:1, because all of the kind of key information, the trees, the mountains, the boat, all very much across the middle section. Then it was back on the road. And yeah, I should probably talk about Mull's roads here. Basically, they're a fucking nightmare. Almost every single one of them is just a single track road with endless blind corners, so you're basically constantly on the lookout for places to pull in. Some of them are relatively smooth, while most of them are basically rough farm tracks that I'm pretty sure have just shaken my poor Toyota Auris to bits. I've actually grown up driving on very, very narrow country back roads, so it didn't really bother me all that much, but it's definitely worth keeping in mind if you're planning on driving on Mull. Make sure you go with your nerves of steel. Anyway, this bit of unpleasant driving was worth it because I was able to take a breather afterwards at a lovely bit of beach. Beautiful down here at Calgary Bay. Genuinely really nice bit of beach. White sand, gentle waves, nice views onto the surrounding cliffs. However, it's not great for photos. Or rather, it's not great for photos right now. While it's a beautiful beach, there's not really a lot of foreground interest going on that you could kind of put into a composition. It's pretty much just the beach and the water. I'm going to keep an eye out for any people on the beach, certainly if anyone goes into the water for a swim, that might be interesting. Taken a few, moved around to try and put some of these rocks in the foreground. They kind of work. Definitely makes it a little bit more interesting, but they're still not amazing photos by any means. However, what I've seen over here is this big old gnarled tree stump, and I was thinking kind of having that right in the foreground, with the background leading us out to the rest of the bay. Absolutely no idea if it'll work. Position might be all wrong, and it's still midday, so lighting wise things aren't exactly looking great, but if you don't try, then you don't succeed. My hair is all over the place today. Anyway, let's give it a go. So I've been taking a few photos, actually taken loads more, but turns out I forgot to press record on this, so we're filming a little bit more. I've really been trying to put this into the left thirds of the frame, have the beach stretching away into the background. Some of the earlier shots I had did have some people on the beach, and actually they looked really good in the frame, I think. Whereas now it's just completely empty, there's no one around. But because it's such a grey day, there's not a lot of contrast in the sky, there's not a lot of vibrant colours, I've been experimenting with taking some of these in black and white, so I think it could look quite cool. But I've had to still be quite careful about exactly where I take the photo, because we've got a building in the background, and if I sort of shot that from, let's just say about this sort of height, you can just see its roof poking out in the top corner of the frame. And I find that a little bit distracting, having this clean, modern angle of a roof in against this otherwise completely natural frame. So instead, if I get the flippy screen out and I really sort of bend down, go for something like this, f9, ISO 400, I can get the log in and still get a nice shot of the rest of the beach without that roof. But really cool log. Not log, stump. It's a stump. Have I been saying log this whole time? It's a stump. It's definitely a stump. Anyway, pleased to have found it. I think it just really shows the importance of kind of scoping out your scene a little bit before you settle on the photos you want to take, because when I first arrived, it's a pretty beach, but that's kind of all it is. If I'd have just taken one photo of the beach and call it a day, I'd have missed out on what I think is a pretty cool photo. So it is always important to, take that initial shot and then actually have a think about how you can make it better. Particularly on a beach, places like this, you can walk up and down, find some foreground interest. I was actually just thinking rocks, rock pools, seaweed, that kind of thing, but finding this has been amazing. I'm getting spiked in the bum.
Didn't need that. Photograph some geese flying in. Those who flock together, rock together. The thing is, right now it is only, checks watch, 1:10. Lunchtime. Lunchtime? You'd have thought I'd have brought some food or figured out a place where I could go and get some food. I haven't done either of those things. So I was going to keep on going, maybe see what I can find along the way. Or just have a bigger dinner this evening when I get back to Tobermory. That's probably more likely. I'm not very good at looking after myself when I'm out and about doing things like this. I think, where do I want to go and take photos? And I don't think at all about where am I going to feed myself. I've got some water in the car, but I've got no more coffee, so I would like some caffeine at some point. Good old caffeine. Actually thinking this fence itself probably is a nice focal point. So we've got the little pathway leading down to the fence and the beach beyond. I'd like that fence to be a little bit more visible in frame though. So there we go. I think there's a couple about to walk through the scene. I'm going to wait and try and line them up because I think keep going, keep going, keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2. Waterfall time. Not necessarily the easiest waterfall to shoot, so we're trying to use this tree up here for some foreground interest. Right now I'm getting quite close, so I've got some of it really falling out of focus just in front of the lens. Another branch in the midground, and then the waterfall sort of in the background. I'm at almost half a second to my shutter speed. Works well as a vertical. Definitely another shot to be had here because we've got this great tree branches. I think this is an oak tree, judging by the leaves. With the waterfall behind it. So I'm going f13. It's giving me a shutter speed of about half a second. Just quickly pulled in because as I was driving along I saw this classic old red telephone box broken down with a lovely view behind, and I wanted that photo. Not sure how best to get it now I'm here. There's an argument for a straight on view. Sort of yellow cladding on the cable doesn't help the scene all that much, but it's pretty nice. Quite like it from this angle too, because you can see the nice mountains in the background. yeah, good little find. That's the sort of thing that I like to spot. That's why I like kind of traveling around with no agenda, because you go down these roads and you'll find these little bits of history, little bits of personality that just add so much to the story of the island. Yeah, love that. Right, back on the road, I suppose. I'm getting hungry.
I had a fair bit of a drive to get back to my hotel, after which I decided that I'd rather just have dinner and a drink rather than go out into the pissing rain with my camera again. Rain which, yeah, continued until morning.
These boats look absolutely amazing. It's so cool that like they're just here, these three of them, just sort of these husks right next to the road. Now, it is forecast to be absolutely torrential rain pretty much everywhere all day. I do seem to have found a tiny opportunity where it isn't actively raining. When I pulled up in my car, it was hammering down on the windows, on the roof, but I sort of sat there just for a few minutes and it has seemed to have eased slightly, so I've risked coming out with my camera to try and get some shots. Now, the camera itself is actually IP54 whatever rated, so like it is weatherproof, but I don't have a lens hood or anything to cover the front element, so if it gets rained on, I'm just going to get rain spots in my photos, and that's going to be annoying. So it's not that I'm afraid of taking the camera out in the rain, it's just that I don't want it getting all over the lens. If you had a lens hood, that would go a long way to solving that problem, but they didn't send one with it, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm here. The conditions are not great. We've not got amazing light, but we have got a lot of drama. We have got the clouds. And so I'm just going to kind of snap away, get a few different angles, try and look for some interesting foreground interest. Like I have noticed just here, there is a sort of tyre in the water, boat behind. That could make for quite an interesting shot. So I'm going to try and get a mixture of some wider scenes that put the whole boats in against this landscape. And then I'm going to look for some like closer up detail shots. A little bit of a mix, but I'm going to shoot fairly frantically while the rain is eased because yeah, I don't think it's going to be like this for long.
I took a few shots here and I quite like what I came away with. This is certainly my favourite of the bunch, at least after it got a bit of life knocked into it in Lightroom. But in all honesty, these boats have been photographed to death, and nothing that I've shown here is offering any fresh take on this scene. And that's fine, because I am happy just to come away with essentially tourist snaps. Not every photo I take has to be some groundbreaking new way of looking at a scene. In fact, I don't think I've ever done that. And anyway, while I was standing there, I did see some interesting nonsense around the coastline, so I got back in the car and I went to explore.
Saw these old pier posts from the other side of the bay where I was shooting those boats. They were really, really cool. So I drove around because I thought having these just like static big posts in the water, use a really long exposure, about a minute, to completely smooth out all that water. Could look really cool. Again, in a black and white shot, probably quite high contrast, very dramatic looking. So I've got the camera quite high on a tripod because I want to give it as much separation as I can between the tops of the post and the landmass behind. I don't really want them overlapping. There's a couple of them that are particularly tall and they're... Okay, it's getting windy and my camera nearly fell over. I don't think Leica would love it if I gave them back a ruined camera. I can't really tell you a lot about this shot right now, but I've just seen how it looks on the back of camera, and I think that is actually pretty cool. I just spotted this other view. It's looking out over this more modern pier, still wood, with these buildings on. Actually can't get round there because it's private, but there is a shot that I can get from this little bit of headland. And it actually works really well because as a result of being slightly further away, I can put this other kind of sweeping bit of rock land that kind of comes into the frame. So it's not just a picture of the pier and the buildings, it's got a little bit of a landscape in there as well. So I'm doing this f10 ISO 100 and about 2 minutes exposure. I have got a 10 stop ND on the camera for pretty much all of these photos. Well, I took quite a few shots there. Definitely a worthwhile little spot. Anyway, the weather's blowing in again, so I thought I'd come to the car and have my disappointing Starbucks in a cup. Because I learned my lesson from yesterday and having no caffeine during the day, so I went to a shop last night and bought a few car supplies. But I need to decide what I'm going to do now. Do I keep on exploring a little bit further, hope to find somewhere else that might work for a long exposure? Or do I call it quits, head back to Tobermory? Because there is the Lighthouse walk I'd really like to do, and I actually think that finding a nice composition with a lighthouse, basically doing the same sort of thing I've been doing here, the sort of monochrome long exposures, I think could work really well for a moody lighthouse scene. So yeah, I think I might do that. Well, it's not great, is it?
I headed back to Tobermory for the Lighthouse walk, but I was a bit uninspired by the relentless rain. Still, I'm a big boy. I soldiered on.
The rain has eased for just a little while anyway. There was every chance that the rain will be in full force by the time I get there. What's the alternative? Sit in the pub, stay warm and just drink beer all day? That sounds awful. So I actually definitely want to go sort of down onto the rocky beach there, looking exactly the same way that we are now. Found what I think is a good position here, because I didn't want to just be a photo of the lighthouse from in front of it, although I did get a kind of cool shot looking down the pathway. But here we've got some foreground interest going on with this pool of water, obviously all of the seaweed. We've also got some of the rocks from this branch right in the immediate foreground, which I think looks kind of cool. Again, I'm going for long exposures here, somewhere around 15 seconds. So I found this pretty cool composition with the log here. As you can see, I've got the camera really, really low, so that log basically becomes really extreme foreground interest. But what I'm doing is doing a focus stack, where I'm going to be focusing with one photo on the log, which is obviously much closer to the camera, and then the second photo focusing on the lighthouse. Hopefully then I can blend those together in post and get a really dramatic looking shot that is sharp from front to back. Don't always do a lot of focus stacking for landscapes, but when you've got something that's so close to the camera like this, you're just not going to be able to get that and your distant subject in focus in one shot. So you do need to have that focus stacked. Got lovely light on it now, and there's even some blue sky, which is unexpected for the day. If they're not going to argue with some blue sky. particularly when we've got blue sky and clouds going on. So it's not just an empty blue sky, which would be a bit more boring for a photo. We've got some actual drama going on.
The conditions were really changeable at the Lighthouse, with pouring rain 1 minute and sunshine the next. So I tried to keep on shooting to take advantage of that changing light, and the result is a series of images that are pretty different to one another. Sometimes I really lent into that slow shutter, wanting to get that look of the clouds streaking overhead, while others are more regular shots at faster shutter speeds. Honestly, I think both styles do have their merits here, but I think it's this shot that's my absolute favourite of the bunch. Not only are the conditions just sublime, I mean, look at that light in those clouds. Couldn't have asked for better. But also I got the Calmac ferry in the background, adding another really great element to this shot. So yeah, it was definitely worth hanging around there and putting up with those conditions for the 2 or 3 hours that I did.
And now I'm getting really low to this pool of water because, as you can see, I've got some great reflections going on, which I really want to take advantage of. So I'm f13, half a second exposure.
Once back in Tobermory, I took advantage of the lingering sunshine the only way I know how.
It's good ice cream. After this, I'm going to have beer. I like to live healthily when I'm on holiday.
This was the last evening of my trip, but it was by no means the last photos I'd be taking. The following morning, I did go on a little bit of an exploration before getting my return ferry, and of course that meant getting caught in a torrential downpour, the result of which was just a couple of photos of a boat in a hedge. But it's when I was on the return ferry itself that I actually got some shots that I quite like. I love the vibrancy in this shot of the back of the boat. Those colours just really pop here, as they do on the few others I took on deck. And yes, I finally got an arguably passable photo of the lighthouse as we sailed by. Passable, not great. Arguably not as good as a shot I got last time on my Leica Q3-43. So yeah, it goes to show that conditions really are everything, as if we needed that being said out loud. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the trip, and therefore I suppose the end to the video as well. And I hope it's been good to see the shots that I took with Leica's SL3-P. This video hasn't been a review, I'm not touching on the overall performance and battery life or anything like that. Gear talk just isn't what I do here. Instead, I thought it would be interesting to actually take it out, put it to use, and show you a whole bunch of example photos. So I'm hoping that if you're actually interested in buying the camera or not, it's still something worthwhile watching here. But I'd love to know if you've got any favourite photos from the whole collection, so please do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time.